order and welcome to the Select Committee's Innovation Showcase. So the committee wants to understand how the UK supports innovators and what more can be done. So each week, one of the members of the committee selects an innovator to share their story. And this week, Dr. Lauren Sullivan has selected our innovator. I'll hand over to you, Lauren, to introduce him.
Lovely, thank you very much, Chi. So it's my great pleasure and privilege to introduce Mike, or how I know Mike, Sir Professor Mike Ferguson, who was my PhD supervisor. And at the time, he was just building one building in Dundee, at the University of Dundee. Having left there, he then further continued to build a couple more buildings for life sciences, as well as other amazing things. And last night, he was presenting the Llewellyn Huick Prize at the Royal Society, which is a public lecture put on. And it was just a golden opportunity, really, to bring him here and to ask him, really, what more can government be doing to unlock growth in life sciences? I know you've got things on that, as well as how we can keep more spin-out companies in the UK. But yeah, really, thank you for coming, and looking forward to hearing you.
Thank you very much, Lauren. It's a privilege to be here. Thank you. So yes, I'm Mike Ferguson. I'm the Regius Professor of Life Sciences at the University of Dundee. The University of Dundee is unusual in that it's one of the top universities in the UK for biology and life sciences by many criteria, which I won't bore you with. But one of its real USPs really is that it's also very entrepreneurial and very translational, by which I mean it not only does fundamental discovery science, without which you have nothing, but it not only does that, but it has developed mechanisms, or what I call translational engines, for taking innovative discovery science through towards societal benefit. And that's often, not always, but often through commercialization and the formation of new spin-out companies and so on. And actually, we've been extraordinarily successful at creating high-value, highly invested spin-out companies. One frustration is we've been part of what I call a levelling down agenda, where those companies have then ended up in the south of England, in Oxford and Cambridge. That was historically due to a lack of appropriate estate in Dundee, and we fixed that now by building an incubator building innovation hub to keep our companies close. And so we can hope that we get more regional economic benefit in economically stressed parts of the country by doing that. So that's all fine. But the question that I'd like to, or the issue I'd like to bring up today, if I may, is what can we do as a nation to increase the success rate of producing high-value, highly invested life sciences, biotechnology and biopharmaceutical companies. And I think the key bottleneck, there are two bottlenecks, but the first one, and the most acute one actually, and ironically the cheapest to fix, is in the area of what I call proof of concept, or taking an innovation and converting it into an investable asset. So let me just replay to you what my conversations with venture capital usually go like. So, you know, we will bring up a national, very often international venture capital organization to look at our opportunities for investment into commercializing into spin-out companies. And we may put 5 or 6 opportunities in front of them, and they may say, well, we like number 1 and we like number 3. Come back when you've done A, B, and C for number 1 and X, Y, and Z for number 3. And everybody looks at each other and says, well, who's going to fund that? Mm-hmm. And there's a bit of a Mexican standoff here. The public sector expects the private sector to do that, and they don't, and vice versa. I'm talking about trivial sums of money here, actually. So for something that might be 20 to 30 million pounds worth of prior UKRI and charity investment ends up stuck on the shelf going nowhere for the sake of £250,000 to do some key proof of concept experiments or business analysis. And roughly, we should be spending about 1% of our R&D budget on that problem. I'd like that to be an additional 1% rather than taking it away from the rest, but either way, unless and until we do that, we are going to underperform in terms of taking first-rate science, which the UK is very good at in life sciences, and getting it off the blocks and into a position where it's properly invested. What happens if you don't get that proof of concept money and it's not properly invested at the right level, is one of two things. Either it doesn't go anywhere at all, or it gets underinvested. And unlike tech, life sciences is expensive. And if you get angel investors who come in and underinvest, you just end up with zombie companies at best, which, they're not terrible things, but they don't really move the needle for UK prosperity. So I would suggest that the government looks very closely at this issue of proof of concept funding. It should be non-dilutive public sector funded, in my opinion. And if one does that, you will get at least, I would say, a 40 to 60-fold return on that investment. And that will include foreign direct investment, because a lot of the venture capital for life sciences spin-outs comes from overseas. So I think there's a lot to like about that opportunity. And if I have a moment more, the other bottleneck is actually, once you've got high-growth companies developed, obviously they need to go through rounds of investment, seed investment, Series A, Series B, etc. At the moment, there's also a lack of capital in the UK system for scaling these companies, to get them to a large Series B, large Series C. And I know this is a topic which you will have probably discussed separately, so I won't labour the point. But liberating money which is in UK pension accounts into funding innovative opportunities in a spread betting way, such that the returns to the pension funds are almost guaranteed, is essential. At the moment, we have a lot of capital sitting around doing nothing for the UK economic benefit in terms of creating the new companies of the future, which we must have if we're going to prosper as an innovation and science-led nation. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. That really resonates with the inquiries that the committee has undertook in terms of, particularly in terms of regional innovation and growth, which it's great to, which showed so many of the issues that you've just raised, and it's great to have your real life experience in that. And so, thank you very much for joining us today for our innovation showcase, and thank you, Lauren, for bringing. Thank you. Order.